Good morning. Got four stories for you this week. Last week, three decisions took place affecting pipelines here in the United States. Two, the Supreme Court rejection of a bid to immediately restart the Keystone X pipeline, and a D.C. federal judge's ruling that the Dakota Access Pipeline had to shut down were bad for the oil industry. However, it was the third decision concerning the Atlantic Coast Pipeline that was to me the most interesting. That's because it suggests that the foundation of that anticipated gas bridge, the seemingly inevitable transition from coal to gas, well, that foundation might be a bit shaky. So Duke Energy and Dominion Energy announced they were pulling the plug on Atlantic Coast, which is a 600-mile planned gas pipeline from West Virginia's Marcellus shale fields to southern North Carolina, after, quote, having worked diligently and invested billions of dollars to complete the project. They continue to say, this announcement reflects the increasing legal uncertainty that overhangs large-scale energy and industrial infrastructure development in the United States. So those were the comments from Duke and from Dominion. They certainly do reflect that uncertainty. There's economic uncertainty as well. These pipelines may prove to be, looking back, uneconomic investments as the entire world shifts to a cleaner energy economy. So I'm guessing 10 years from now, we'll look back and say, first thing that was clear in 2020 was that coal was dead man walking. And then we'll see, having looked back, that the battleground quickly shifted over to natural gas to limit our addiction to CH4 as the next fuel that we'd be powering our plants with. We'll probably also say that the absence of gas pipelines created the necessity to quickly shift to other resources. Necessity is not only the mother of invention, she's also the mother of adaptation, and society will adapt to develop new and cleaner energy strategies in the absence of that gas. Just as New South Wales is doing down in Australia. Last week, the NSW government confirmed it intends to call for 8,000 megawatts of wind, solar, and energy storage, which may represent the most dramatic shift away from coal straight over to renewables without that gas bridge of any place on the planet. It's already had a large number of coal plants retire, and a bunch more are retiring in the next decade and a half. So New South Wales is hastening the transition along. The government plans to create a new renewable energy zone, sound familiar to those of you in Texas, and go back to the well to its 27,000 megawatts of bidders who responded to its first 3,000 megawatt RFP to go and get another 8,000. Next story, hydrogen out of Europe. The EU launched its new green hydrogen strategy last week, indicating it may need as much as 80,000 to 120,000 megawatts of wind and solar resources to power electrolyzers, which would then create green hydrogen. The goal is to develop at least 6,000 megawatts of electrolyzer capacity by 2024, producing up to 1 million tons of H2 for hydrogen-hungry industries such as chemical complexes and refineries. The plan calls for major R&D investments, regulatory changes, and development of new markets. And it notes that just between November 2019 and March of 2020, the list of planned global investments in hydrogen electrolyzer projects grew from 3,200 megawatts to 8,200 megawatts, 57% of which were in Europe. Today, estimated costs for hydrogen are 1.5 euros per kilogram for gray hydrogen, that's from fossil fuels. For blue hydrogen, which is from fossil fuels with carbon capture and carbon storage, that's around 2 euros per kilogram. And it's estimated that renewable hydrogen will cost around 2.5 to 5.5 euros per kg. Electrolyzer costs, though, have fallen by 60% in the last decade, and they're expected to have again by 2030, with the growing economies of scale and more R&D. Saudi Arabia thinks that may be happening faster. They're not waiting. Air Products and Chemicals Incorporated just signed an accord with Saudi-based Aqua Power International and the kingdom's planned futuristic city of Neom, N-E-O-M, to develop a $5 billion hydrogen-based ammonia plant powered by renewable energy and capable of producing 1.2 million tons of ammonia annually and 650 tons of hydrogen on a daily basis. So we see pipelines looking into a more difficult future on one side, and at the same time globally on the other side, we start to see the hydrogen energy economy continue to gain more strength. These trends are only going to continue in the months and years to come. They'll be worth watching. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.